I'm here with my son Tain, and we wanted to do a walk around of his 2000 Ford Ranger that he's really done some great work to. Tain, tell us what you've done to this.
I mean, it doesn't look like much, but really the only things I haven't really touched are the frame and body. So that's really the only things that haven't been real modified. I guess we can start up front here.
Okay.
Probably the only thing that people really care about is tires and horsepower, right?
Right.
So I'm running 35-inch tire, Patagonia MTs on a 15-inch steel wheel. What is nice about this build is I'm not lifted at all. To make it fit though, I did have to do quite a bit of cutting. So I ended up cutting the fenders out and just put a cover over that. Up front, I've also done quite a bit of work. The Ford Rangers, they come factory with torsion bar suspension. So I converted it to coilover suspension. I'm running Fox 2.0, 10-inch 2.0 with reservoir on 800-pound springs. As you can see, also I've got upgraded tie rod end. I'm running the Camberg inner tie rods. And to also make all this work, I ended up converting the hubs to a manual hub. So this all works together. And then up top here, my upper control arm is the BTF Uniball. This has been really nice because it pushes my the upper end out, so my alignment's more on. I don't go through tires as much.
Excellent. Wow.
And then up front, kind of a homemade bumper. Not much really. You can see I just pushed the frame out here and have a winch plate on there, and it's pretty simple up front. What I love about this up front here is that Badlands winch. A lot of people may give it a hard time, but this has actually been an excellent winch. It's worked for me every time. I've had it for years. I also converted it to a synthetic line, so I saved a lot of weight there. But it's actually been a really good winch. It's the 9,000 pound. And as far as mounting the winch, all I really did is just extend the frame out and add the winch plate. So really not much to it. Pretty simple.
Very nice. So what are you powering this bad boy with?
So this truck started life as a 3-liter V6 manual transmission. So I just converted it a little bit. I needed a little bit more power, so I added a little bit more. I ended up going with a 5-liter Ford 302 out of a 99 Explorer. What's good with the Explorers is they have, the truck cam. It's also got the GTP 40 heads. So as far as the engine, there isn't too much modded to the engine. I am running Torque Monster long tube headers, and it really sounds nice with those, and it's supposed to add some horsepower as well. And then as far as my distributor, I went with some higher voltage Demon distributor. And to help make this engine fit, I couldn't fit the cooling fan, so I ended up going with an electric fan. So I'm running the FF Dynamics electric fan. This is their biggest one. This is a 3600 CFM fan. And because I'm not running a shroud, I added another fan below, another 800 CFM from so the same company.
You're running dual fans, right?
Yeah, I'm running dual fans.
Wow, okay.
The larger fan comes on. It's tied to the actual factory thermostat. So it's all monitored, peace of mind. The secondary fan I can turn on and off with a switch.
Oh, that's cool.
And what's nice with the switches, I'm actually running the aux beam aftermarket switches, is the 8-gang. And what's really nice about this is you only have to run through the firewall one time with a set of cables. Everything else ties into the actual box here. So all my lights, everything else, all my switches just have to go to the engine bay. So that's pretty nice.
That's sweet.
Yep. And then of course my Optima battery, it fits. What I also like about this setup is, you might have seen in the beginning, I had the snorkel over there.
Yeah.
So Dad and I, we initially put the snorkel on this truck for a joke when we did the Gambler 500, but we actually ended up making it functional. So yeah, I don't know if you can see under here, but we made it completely functional. It's all sealed up, and it's been quite useful. It's been pretty nice. It helps keep my filters really clean. And so I thought, with that, why don't I also make the truck a little bit more waterproof, I guess you could say. So I ended up adding and bringing all my breathers to the engine bay here. So I got my front diff, my transmission transfer case, and my rear diff. So everything comes up to the engine bay here. So if I had to, I could ford water pretty deep. All right, so we looked at the engine, and like I said earlier, it started life as a manual transmission. So I ended up converting it to an automatic transmission. So I got my hands on a 4R70W Ford transmission. I had it rebuilt and installed a monster shift kit. That's actually been really nice, because it does shift a little bit hard, but it locks up a lot sooner, and it's actually pretty cool. Actually feel pretty good. And then behind that, I went with a 4406 transfer case out of an F250. So I just made sure everything was beefed up. And with the automatic transmission conversion, I ended up having to make my own cross members. So they're made out of 1 3/4 120 wall tube, and I just to help minimize the weight, you can also see that I incorporated some removable skid plates, and that's just to help with weight and protect everything. And then on the side here, I'm running the Rocky Road Outfitters rock slider. It's just a bolt-on set, something I needed quickly, and I was able to do that, and it's worked.
Excellent.
Nice job.
And then inside your cab, what are you running in here?
There's not much upgrades in here. Something I didn't mention earlier is I'm running the SCT tuner.
Oh yeah.
That's just for the engine, so it is tuned, and mainly just to run, just to keep it running. There isn't too many mods done to the engine.
So communication wise?
Communication, I'm running a Midland 5-watt radio. My dad and I got a package deal from when they had these old 5 watts, and so we went in and we both got radios. And what's funny, the story about that is, while I was installing this radio at home, my dad was out here at Juniper about 11 miles away, and while I was doing the install, I could hear a voice on the radio, and it ended up being him.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now tell me about your switches again. So
yeah,
so the console is inside here too, right?
Yeah, so I have the console from a Ford Explorer I had, and then there's the aux beam switches.
That's a nice upgrade. I really like that.
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, really, that's about all I did in the cab, other than remove, the stick shift,
cover
that's
the
right.
hole, I was going to say,
then,
yeah,
change the column out to an automatic.
Nice and clean install. Then you got the automatic on the column there. Yeah. Really nice. Okay.
Yeah. So the rear is completely different as well. I ended up doing the Chevy 63 leaf springs. They're quite a bit longer and stiffer than the factory Ranger, and that's actually been quite nice. I can have a heavier payload. They flex a lot more. It's been a great upgrade. Tied to that, I have a Ford, the 8.8, the 31 spline rear axle. I got out of a Ford Explorer, and I'm running 488 gears with a Yukon Grizzly Locker, with the Belstein 5100 shocks, and I've enjoyed this setup. It's been a good setup.
Excellent.
And
I know.
Go ahead.
I noticed you've got a nice rack on here that I've never seen before.
Yeah,
How did you do that?
You don't typically see Rangers set up this way, mainly because there isn't really an aftermarket support for Ford Rangers to be a kind of a willing, quote, overland rig. So I ended up making my own rack. It's an 1 3/4 120 wall tube, just bent to fit into a rack. The reason I did go so high is because I do have a dog that he's a pretty good sized dog, so he can stand up back here. And it's also been nice too because the tent's tall enough to where I can add the annex. It holds this Schmitty-built XL, their big tent, just fine, especially on a 6-foot bed. It fits perfect. And with it being this tall, I can have that annex and not hit my head on anything.
And tell me about the light. I see this light in here that really works well. You've got it mounted right in the center here. How did you power that?
Pretty simple, really. So back here I had the factory bed light. It broke, so I really just replaced it and wired it to it. And what's been nice about that is I can actually turn it on, and from factory it has a 20-minute shut off.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can just turn it on, leave it on, and forget about it.
That's great.
And then on the side here, of course, you gotta have your fire extinguisher. So I got a quick release fire extinguisher, and I used to have some super strut across here where I'd carry like shovels or traction boards, but it kind of got in the way. And having the sides open like this has actually been really nice because you can actually reach your gear back here. I normally have a fridge back here as well. I got it wired for 12 volt back here. So being able to reach from the side and get what you need has been nice. So having the sides open is really nice. Alright, so back here, you can see I got rid of my tailgate. I ended up making my own tailgate. Again, it's out of the 1 3/4 120 wall tube. And so why I did this is I used to carry the spare in the back of the bed here. I used to have it tied down kind of up against the back window, and it just took up too much space. It's nice being able to use all your space, especially for a 6-foot bed. It's nice having all that space. So I ended up building this and making it beefy enough that I could hold this 35-inch tire steel wheel, because these get pretty heavy. It's over 100 pounds with this setup here. And then as far as the back goes, I ended up cutting the bed up. I did the bed cut on it. I've cut off about 9 inches, and so it's given me a lot of clearance. And then I just did a simple tube bumper.
I notice you get a lot of clearance out of the back here too. You're probably not hitting it on anything anymore.
Yeah, I'm hitting a lot less.
Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah. Okay, let's go around to the other side. So I noticed you have this tank in the back. What is that?
So that's a CO2 tank. You may have noticed in the engine bay there wasn't much space to put an air compressor. I used to have a portable air compressor, and it got to be a pain having to pull that out every time and wrestle with the hoses and cables. So I ended up going to CO2. This is a 15-pound CO2 tank. And what's been great about it is it's a lot more simple. I just plug in my hose and fill up my tires.
What's the disadvantages of that, of a CO2? Is there any disadvantages?
Yeah, I mean, you have to get air for it, right? You
gotta pay for it.
You gotta pay for air,
but that's about it, right? I mean,
well, there isn't a way to measure CO2.
Oh.
You can't do it through pressure. It's through weight.
Okay.
So that is a disadvantage there. However, because I've had this for so long, I know how many fill-ups I get. I normally keep my tire at 35 psi, and when we go wheeling, I'll air it down to 10 psi, and so that will give me about 5 trips out of one tank.
Well, is there anything that we missed? This is really informative and very nice build. I think we missed the rack on top, didn't we? You've got a rack. What is that?
Oh, it's just a homemade rack. I got the rails. Well, you can see it's super strut on top.
Oh, you made that? I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
And you see I got a gun rack there. That's where I keep all my recovery gear. Just when it gets wet and muddy, it's out of the way and it's easy to get to. It's accessible.
Excellent. And then you have your light bar up here and your ditch lights. And
So I can't tell you too much about the lights. I haven't used them too much. But the ditch lights I've used a lot more. These are Harbor Freight brand. I end up using just a universal mount for these. Again, what's nice about running lights is I just have to run to the engine bay because of that aux beam switch.
That is a pretty cool. Well, thanks. That is a really nice build, and I got the opportunity to help him on some of these things, which has been fun. But thanks, Tain, for showing us that.
Sure.